Hello, this is video 2 of the Financial Wellness Seminar. I'm Martin Houston, General Manager for Alabama One Insurance. I'm joined by Miss Jacquie Johnson, Financial Wellness Director for Alabama One. And to my right is Miss Kelly Denard. She's the Manager of Alabama One Mortgage. Jacquie, could you please give us an update or recap of last week's video?
Sure. Last week we had a great time, got lots of great feedback, and as we talked about, 3 steps to prepare you for a financial setback. And so those 3 steps, just really quickly, was assessing your budget, just making sure you know what's coming in, what's going out. Step 2 was talking about cutting your expenses, looking for ways just to kind of cut back, make life easier. And then step 3 was savings. So hopefully what you save from step 2 will go into step 3.
Well, today we're going to dig a little deeper, dive a little deeper into budgeting, developing that spending plan, and we're going to look at 4 key elements: housing, food, transportation, and utility. And to start things off, we're going to have Ms. Kelly tell us about the impact of the pandemic on housing and maybe give us a few tips.
Yeah, so I just wanted to let you guys know and give you a few tips today about if you're struggling making your mortgage payment, or if you're concerned about maybe something happening, if you hear about layoffs or maybe your hours are cut. We just wanted to give you a few tips on how to handle that. So the first tip would be to contact your mortgage lender or servicer. If you don't know who that is, sometimes your loan is sold. So if you're looking for your servicer information, it's going to be on your monthly mortgage statement. So just towards the end, usually on the back, look for that and give them a call. Communication is going to be key, because you want to make them aware of your situation and explain to them what your situation is and why you may be struggling to make your payment. Another tip would be to document your hardship. This may mean pay stubs. If you've gotten a letter from your employer, make sure to keep all of that paperwork handy, because if you are going to sign up for deferrals or anything like that with your mortgage lender, they are going to ask you to prepare and send them some of that documentation. So make sure and keep all of that handy so you've got it ready to send in. Another thing, be careful and don't be afraid to ask your mortgage lender questions. A lot of times they're going to call you, or if you call in and talk to them, they may explain to you something, but it may not be understandable, or you may have questions. Don't be afraid to ask them questions, and make sure you know what you're signing up for before you just agree to sign for something. And then, as we all know, during hardships or things in the community, be aware for potential scams, because people are always looking to prey on vulnerable people. So make sure that you know what's going on, and make sure that if anyone contacts you and wants you to pay them money or anything to avoid foreclosure or anything like that, that is not real. No one is going to ever ask you to pay them money. So those are a few tips.
And speaking of that, the scams, actually next week we're going to talk about how to avoid being the victim of potential scams, identity theft, etc. A couple quick questions specific to COVID-19. If you defer payment due to COVID-19 hardship, will that impact your credit score?
No, it will not. So the government has given lenders specific information. So if you sign up for deferrals and you are specifically impacted by COVID-19, we will not report that as negative on your credit.
Will late payments be charged on deferred payments?
No, that's another thing. Most lenders are not going to charge late fees or any kind of fees in order to do deferrals. So make sure you ask that when you talk to your lender. But 99% of lenders are not going to charge you late fees.
And where can I find out more information on my mortgage options?
You can always contact your mortgage lender or servicer, but there's also, you can Google a certified HUD counselor. Make sure that you talk to a HUD counselor, or we're partnered with Green Path, so that would always be a good resource for you.
All right, thank you. That is some really, really good information, Kelly. And now we'll transition to have Ms. Jacquie talk to us about food, transportation, and utilities.
Sure. So we'll start with food. And I kind of touched on this last week about food. The big thing is just 4 quick things. Make sure you start making a grocery list when you go to the grocery store. A lot of people are like, oh, I'll just go in the store and pick up something. 9 times out of 10, if you don't have a grocery list, you're going to pick up more than what you really need, and also more than what your budget really has been set for. So if you plan, that's the key word. If you plan for what you're going to get those things, it works out better. Another thing, and I saw this the other day, be mindful when you're in the grocery store not to pick up, 5 rolls of toilet paper if they let you or what have you. Be mindful that there are other people out, that we all are in this same situation. We all are going to need some of the same necessities. So instead of taking it back and hoarding it in your home, think about others that may be coming behind you that may need some of those same items, which also then cuts down on your groceries. And then the third thing, be mindful when you're grocery shopping. I know, like in our house, and I always give personal examples, thank God now everybody likes Fruit Loops, right? So instead of me buying 3 different types of cereal, which now takes your grocery bill up $20, we buy Fruit Loops and we only have to buy 1 box. So simple things like that. I know this all may sound so simple, but that's what we want it to be. We want you all to understand that these things are simple ways for you to get through this crisis, and simple ways even after the crisis for you to continue on and have a better spending plan. So that kind of covers the food part of it. Again, just being mindful, your kids are at home now all day, every day. Everybody's grocery bill normally goes up because they're eating all day because they're bored and they're in the house. Buy things that are really for the entire family, not a bunch of snacks, because then they're going to eat all the snacks up. But if you buy things that you want to last, that helps on your grocery bill as well. And then Martin, you talked about transportation. With transportation, real simple. Most of us, I know in Tuscaloosa where we are, we're on 24-hour curfew. That means there's no place to go unless you're an essential employee. So that means your gas, the amount that you spend on gas weekly or monthly will go down. Take that money, don't spend it and sit at home and shop on Amazon. Take that money, put it in an envelope and say, oh my gosh, I didn't have to fill up my car this week. That's $30 or $40. Let me put that aside. Things they're saying things are going to get worse before they get better. So if that's the case, and we may all still be at home for another month or so, think about where your money's going to come from in the next month. Save the gas money, anything that you can save on. The third last thing is utilities. We talked about utilities. Again, the kids are at home, you're at home more often, which means now, the TV's being probably turned on more than it has, more lights are being used, hot water's being used, all of those things. So be mindful. Also, people are saying, hey, you know what? I can defer and not have to pay my electric bill. I don't have to pay my gas bill or my water bill. My advice to you is, if you have the money right now, to pay it. Because if you put it off, all you're doing is deferring it. It's not going to be forgiven. It's going to be deferred. And what that means is, if I call Alabama, what's our electric company? Oh my gosh. Power. Alabama Power. Sorry, you guys. Still fresh to Tuscaloosa. But if I call Alabama Power and they say, great, Jackie, you can forego your electric bill for the month of April, and then in May, I've got to pay that one plus the next one, that's not really helping me. So my advice to you, pay it if you have the money to pay it, because eventually when you get that one in May, it's probably going to be higher than the norm, and then you're going to have to pay that one as well.
2 quick follow-ups. One of those to you, Kelly, all deferments aren't equal. Sometimes when people are saying defer, they're actually just pushing and kicking the can down the road, but ever how many months they defer, you're going to owe. Is that how Alabama, if there is a deferment that is issued, or if we work that out at some point in the future, are we deferring the payment until it's better, or are we putting that at the end? How do we do that?
So we are offering up to 3 months on your mortgage payment. That's with Alabama One. If you qualify for the 3-month deferral, those 3 payments would not be due until they would just tack on to the end of your loan.
End of the loan.
So if you have 60 payments left on your loan, you're going to skip these payments, and then you'd have 63.
So the key there is, ask whoever you're speaking to when they say push back, defer, cover. Ask them, what do they mean? Are they going to come to you in 3 months and say, hey, the full amount's due, or are they going to add it to the end? Now, another thing that can happen, Jackie, when you look at, you said pay your utilities, cut back here, and all of those things. First of all, make sure that you don't count some things that are luxuries as utilities. Cable and phone and all those things can be cut back some. But what people tend to do in this type of situation or crisis situation is they'll go out and swipe. So the question is, swipe or not to swipe? What is your advice when it comes to credit cards?
My advice is not to swipe. And the reason I say that is because, again, I'm looking at the future, not just today. And what happens, we don't really know what the future looks like for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 months. So right now, for those of you who may have been laid off or whose company is just shut down, we've seen that, right? Companies are saying we're not going to reopen. The cash that you have now that you can use to pay your bills, use that. Put those credit cards away, hide them, do whatever you need to do, because in 3 months or 6 months, you may need to use those credit cards to pay for bills, to buy groceries, to do those things. Because if you're out of work now and your company has closed down, think about the entire economy is kind of in an awkward place. So we don't know when jobs are going to be open again. So if you're out of work right now, you may still be out of work. God, hopefully willing, you find something. But if not, you may still be out of work 3 months from now, 6 months from now. So save those credit cards for that true rainy day when it comes. And that's when you're going to want to use those cards.
Well, would you please just give us a quick recap of the 4 areas that we need to be conscious of?
So again, housing, Kelly did an amazing job explaining that. Please, if you have your mortgage with Alabama One, contact anyone in Kelly's department. Her team is amazing. They can help you with any questions you may have. If you do not have your mortgage with Alabama One, find out, call your lender and find out what your options are, but ask questions. So the housing we've taken care of. Food, again, just be mindful of what you're buying, how you're spending it. The utilities the same way, gas is the same. I know we kind of went through this video kind of quick, Martin, but the great thing is that we are putting a lot of resources and tips on our webpage, on the alabama1.org webpage, where you can go view this video again. You can also look at some of the resources that we have. We have great budget sheets for you to use, whether you're new to budgeting or you are that budgeter that wants it in a spreadsheet and things are going and they're calculating and all those things. We have that for you. And then we also have tips from each of our main departments here at Alabama One on how you can survive this COVID-19 crisis that we're in right now.
Well, thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Jackie. I want to give you a quick reminder about next week, because we will be back again. And next week, we're going to talk about how to avoid being a victim during this pandemic. We also want to remind you that the slide behind me, you can actually see the contact information for questions for Jackie or questions for Kelly. Remember this, Alabama One is sound, stable, and strong, and we're here to serve you and help you through this pandemic. We will get through this together. Alabama One together. Thank you.